It happened on a gray Tuesday morning that should have slipped by unnoticed, except it didn't. May 6th, 2025, 9:30 sharp, a stack of papers thumped onto the marble counter of the U.S. District Court in Trenton, New Jersey. The filing was thick, the font small, the implications massive. Inside, 32-year-old Rymir Satterthwaite accused the world's first hip-hop billionaire, Shawn Jay-Z Carter, of dodging one simple thing, a cotton swab that could confirm once and for all whether the two men share the same DNA. For 15 years, that single test has hung over Jay-Z's empire like a storm cloud over a glass penthouse. And on that Tuesday, the cloud cracked wide open. What followed was the kind of back and forth rarely seen outside heavyweight boxing. 6 weeks later, on July 14th, Jay-Z's legal team fired a counterpunch that read like thunder. Rymir's claims were fabricated, his lawsuit a decades-long harassment campaign, and the superstar wanted it tossed without a hearing. If the mogul expected the world to shrug and move on, he miscalculated. Because when Jay-Z speaks, millions listen. Yet this time, millions also remembered the silence that came before. Why, people wondered, had the most powerful man in rap spent 15 years avoiding a test any other father could finish in 5 minutes at a walk-in clinic? But that's sprinting ahead. Let's rewind to where the fuse first sparked. To understand why May 6 mattered, we have to flash back to the summer of 1992. Philadelphia was sweltering, Boys to Men was blasting from every corner store, and a 16-year-old girl named Wanda Satterthwaite met a 22-year-old hustler-turned-rapper everyone called Shawn from Brooklyn. They dated briefly, broke up quietly, and life rolled on. Until December 1993, when Wanda gave birth to a baby boy she named Rymir. On the birth certificate, the father's line didn't read Shawn Carter. It read Robert Graves, Wanda's high school sweetheart, because Wanda thought shielding her son from a man chasing rap dreams was the safer bet. Fast forward 17 years. Wanda was gone too soon, and Rymir, now a tall kid with his mom's cheekbones and a nagging question, handed over $800 he'd saved from warehouse shifts for a DNA test with Robert Graves. The result slammed back 0.00% relation. Overnight, the father line on that birth certificate felt emptier than ever. Rymir's quest began, not for cash, not for a backstage pass, but for that 4-letter word everybody takes for granted until they have to fight for it. Truth. The first lawsuit hit a Pennsylvania family court docket in 2010. A judge glanced over the file and tossed it out. Rymir was already 18 outside that court's reach. Undeterred, he repackaged the case and filed in New Jersey, armed with a property tax record that listed a Shawn Carter owning a modest brick house in Trenton. Jay-Z's lawyers pushed back. Plenty of Shawn Carters walk this earth, and none of them rap next to Beyoncé. Jurisdiction denied, case dismissed. That game of legal whack-a-mole repeated 7 more times: county court, superior court, appellate court, each ending with a procedural technicality no gossip site could explain in a single headline. Lawyers cited statutes, judges cited precedent, and the swab stayed sealed. To Rymir's supporters, the system looked stacked. To Jay-Z's fans, the dismissals proved the claims were bogus. But to neutral onlookers, one odd fact refused to disappear. No lab had ever tested the one man who could silence everything overnight. And the longer the stalemate lasted, the louder speculation roared. Courtrooms weren't the only battlegrounds. One February evening in 2021, Rymir cracked open his Honda Civic and froze. A black handgun lay on the driver's seat. Before he could blink, police cruisers boxed him in. Body cam footage would later show an unknown figure slipping the weapon through the unlocked door minutes earlier. Charges evaporated once the tape surfaced, but the chill stuck. Weeks later, a gag order request landed on his doorstep, threatening hefty fines if he spoke publicly about the case. He talked anyway. Then came YouTube takedown notices, stray bullets through a parked car window, and endless Twitter DMs hinting he should drop it before it gets ugly. Jay-Z's camp denies orchestrating any of it, labeling the stories internet lore. Yet even skeptics admit something or someone wanted the kid rattled. Whether it was overzealous fans, rogue actors, or coincidences, the message was clear. Chasing truth against a billionaire is perilous business. Wanda never lived to see her son step into adulthood, but she left behind sworn affidavits. In them, she describes meeting Shawn at a block party, sharing late-night cheesesteaks, and breaking up when he started traveling for shows. She was 16, he was 22. Whether that timeline suggests youthful romance or something darker depends on who's interpreting. But either way, the affidavits turned what-ifs into tangible claims. Add in tax documents tying Shawn Carter to New Jersey, and civil rights groups like the NAACP began filing amicus briefs asking why no court would simply order a test and close the book. Jay-Z's counsel counters that affidavits are inadmissible hearsay and property records prove nothing. And they have a point. Paper can mislead, names can duplicate, and memory blurs over decades. Yet, DNA doesn't lie, and critics argue that if the evidence were truly flimsy, a negative test would have been the mogul's quickest victory lap. Instead, 15 years later, the swab remains an unopened envelope in a story that chews through headlines like gasoline through fire.
The hip-hop community spent years whispering about Jay-Z's secret kid. But in 2025, the whispers went megaphone loud. 50 Cent posted a meme of a swab outrunning a Bugatti with the caption, "Bro moving faster than my album sales." Nicki Minaj reposted it with a cryptic, "Say less." Podcasts dissected court filings line by line. Reaction channels stitched side-by-side photos of Jay-Z's grin next to Rymir's jawline, drawing arrows like FBI evidence boards. Hashtags SwabGate and DNA or bust trended for days. Traditional outlets urged caution, no lab test, no confirmation. But algorithms reward enthusiasm, not restraint. And the claim, Jay-Z's son wins big, scored more clicks than a legal brief ever could. In a digital echo chamber, rumor often feels as real as verdict. And the rapper who once bragged, "I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman," suddenly looked like a corporation under siege. In the Carter household, silence isn't golden, it's titanium. Beyoncé rarely addresses rumors, preferring a soft-focus Instagram post to any press statement. Yet paparazzi lenses caught her emerging from a Manhattan townhouse the day Jay-Z's July 14 motion dropped, face hidden behind oversized sunglasses, lips tight. Tabloids leapt. Was the Queen furious? Was Papa Knowles behind closed doors reading Jay the Riot Act? Nobody outside the inner circle knows, but one truth stands tall. Every fresh lawsuit drags Beyoncé's pristine brand through mud she never splashed. For a woman who meticulously curates image and legacy, think Ivy Park launches, Renaissance tours, and a historic Grammy Hall, tying her name to alleged relationships with minors isn't just awkward, it's nuclear. Industry insiders whisper that endorsement deals carry morals clauses thicker than law textbooks,
And while no brand has pulled back, the constant drip of scandal doesn't exactly help. Protecting the Carter dynasty means sealing cracks before they widen, and this crack is demanding a paternity test on the public stage.
On paper, this isn't about money. Rymir's current suit waives child support. He wants damages for emotional distress and a declaratory judgment naming his father. Yet make no mistake, truth carries a price. If DNA matches, Jay-Z could face back child support claims under some states' equitable tolling doctrines, asset division recalculations, even potential criminal review if prosecutors sniff statutory violations. The rapper's Roc Nation empire spans sports, music, streaming, champagne, cannabis. Any scandal can shave millions off market value overnight. For Rymir, a positive test may deliver closure but invite backlash from fans who idolize Jay-Z like royalty. A negative test could label him a clout chaser for life, closing career doors before they open. Either outcome rewrites two destinies, and that's why both men keep hiring new lawyers, filing fresh motions, and bracing for hearings everybody knows are coming but nobody can predict. So why does this year feel different? Because federal court is a stage state courts can't dodge. Rymir's May 6 filing accuses not only Jay-Z, but also unnamed officials of colluding to bury evidence, an allegation that, if proven, morphs a private dispute into a public integrity scandal. Federal judges wield subpoena power across state lines, and their orders don't evaporate when a superstar's private jet crosses a border. In other words, the roadblocks that stopped those earlier 8 cases might not hold here. Jay-Z's team obviously knows that, and their first defense was to call the suit frivolous, begging the judge to dump it before discovery begins. If the judge says no, we could see depositions under oath, phone records, medical forms, even that holy grail swab. Legal analysts say early rulings are expected this fall. Until then, both sides play chess in the media, trying to shape public opinion that could sway potential jurors. Strip away the headlines, and you're left with 2 men circling a single word: respect. Jay-Z spent 3 decades crafting a narrative of hustle, triumph, and flawless execution. In that story, loose ends have no place. Meanwhile, Rymir spent those same years patching up holes. No father at games, no surname to pass down, until the missing piece felt less like a gap and more like a wound. To him, testing isn't disrespect, it's dignity. To Jay-Z, being dragged into court for the 9th time might feel like extortion dressed as piety. That clash of worldviews fuels every legal brief, every subtweet, every TMZ headline. One man sees a dynasty, the other sees a vacancy on his birth certificate. And though only science can pick a side, the court of public opinion loves choosing champions long before lab techs pop open evidence bags. During a tearful 2024 podcast interview, Rymir stared straight into the camera and said, "Give me a polygraph, hook me to a lie detector, film the whole thing. I want the truth more than I want my next breath." Weeks later, Jay-Z's attorneys fired back. Plaintiff's allegations have been rejected repeatedly. His continued disregard for court orders has already resulted in contempt. The back and forth reads like a scriptwriter's dream, but it's real life, and somewhere between those 2 statements sits the hidden answer. Skeptics argue Rymir's narrative shifted over time, growing more sensational as media attention paid dividends. Supporters reply that shifting details reflect evolving memories and new evidence. Skeptics say Jay-Z's silence is savvy legal strategy. Supporters call it stonewalling. Each fresh headline is a game of telephone, facts bending, phrases mutating, until the original question, who's the father, gets buried under an avalanche of commentary. For years, Jay-Z ignored reporters' shouted questions. Then at a 2023 Grammy after-party, a journalist lobbed, When are you taking the DNA test? Jay-Z paused, stared, and quipped, I don't pay attention to fairy tales. Cameras flashed like strobe lights. In less than 10 words, he'd given headline writers material for a month. Proof to fans he dismissed the claims, fuel to critics who called the crack in his armor palpable. It was a glimpse of the mogul blinking, even if only for a second, reminding everyone that beneath the million-dollar watches and bodyguards, this story is painfully human. Legal calendars predict the first substantive hearing in November 2025. If the judge denies Jay-Z's motion to dismiss, discovery follows, interrogatories, depositions, and yes, potential DNA testing. Labs whisper that a cheek swab to results timeline can be as quick as 10 business days. Imagine that, 15 years of filings answered by 10 days of lab work. Yet, if either side appeals every ruling, the case could crawl into 2026 or beyond. Meanwhile, YouTubers are drafting thumbnails. Swab Day Live. Twitter is sharpening hashtags. Brands quietly draft crisis management memos. And in Brooklyn, the Marcy Project's mural of young Jay-Z watches silently, paint fading but eyes still bright, as if wondering whether past choices eventually tap every shoulder, no matter how high you climb. So here we are, perched on the edge of hip-hop's most enduring mystery. If DNA ties Shawn Carter and Rymir Satterthwaite together, we'll watch a billionaire reckon with a secret older than some of his chart toppers, while a son finally closes a chapter that began before he learned to read. If the test says otherwise, questions about motive, manipulation, and media will explode in the other direction. Either way, the outcome will echo through record labels, boardrooms, and living rooms worldwide, because this isn't just gossip. It's a high-stakes referendum on power, privilege, and the price of truth. And here's the kicker. We might be only months away from an answer. So buckle up, hit that subscribe button, and ring the bell, because the next filing could rattle the music industry harder than any bass drop Jay-Z ever laid on wax. Until then, remember, sometimes the most valuable thing you can own isn't a platinum plaque or a streaming empire. Sometimes it's the courage to face a cotton swab and whatever truth rides on the tip.